Hey everyone! Dragon Prince Season 3 has just aired, and there is so much to talk about. So to start things off, Deep Cut and I got the chance to talk to the series creators once again about our biggest questions regarding Season 3. Let's see what information we can glean out of them. But first, some disclaimers. If this wasn't obvious, there are going to be major Season 3 spoilers here, so watch at your own risk. There's also a lot we didn't talk about, but we'll probably get to in future videos. Also, I've recorded this straight from Google Hangouts, so if you see a little cursor on the screen, that's why. And as always, I'm a pretty nervous person, so there's going to be a lot of me messing up my questions, but I wrote them all out so you can hopefully understand them. With all that said, here's the interview. So my first question was, it's going to be about Raylan. You want to figure out the talk about that?
Okay.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, okay, you decided to do something that is, pretty rare in animated shows for an audience that's, not adults, or for like all audiences, ages, and that's to make two characters go into a relationship, like not the very end of the show or even, the final season. And you know, I loved how it was done. So I was wondering what made you decide to make them a couple relatively early on in the grand scheme of things.
The characters made us decide. Yeah. And this is something like before, like we talked about, like Ezra's arc at the end of season 2. Like we thought he was going to go into Zadia with them, and then we were like, oh man, this kid's heart is too big and he's too responsible. He's gonna go back and try to change things from the throne, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's honestly how we kind of approached it.
That's right.
And I would say we started the series. We did not think they were going to be together. We're like, they're going to be friends. They're going to be, a little whatever. And then I think part of it is like the team started figuring it out, and the animators. I think I specifically remember during episode 4 of season 2. Where they're sitting on Velos' ship. It's episode 4, and
the Ruthless.
And it was a storyboard. It was a storyboard animatic, and in the flash of lightning, just the expression on Rayla's face, something about it. She was just
there was something
looking at him, and like that was like, oh my gosh, is something starting to develop?
Yeah.
So I know it sounds crazy, but it's like we discovered it. We were like, oh wait a minute,
wow.
And then at the end of the season, we were like Callum is sick and he's done the wrong thing and she's worried she's losing him, and it's like, well, what does this mean?
Yeah.
And so we went into season 3 saying, hey, these are our friends who are realizing how much they mean to one another, and then kind of in the middle of the season you see how much they mean, that it might be more than that, and neither of them knows for sure at first either.
Yeah.
So I think we just followed that, and that's what we try to do, and like so. Yeah, that was how we got there.
If you had asked in season 1, are they going to end up together? I probably would have been like, probably not. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think probably we weren't planning on it.
Yeah.
Does that mean you had someone else in mind for him, say Claudia?
We probably more so than Rayla.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think even when we got to the scenes in the beginning of season 2 where Callum and Claudia have those experiences by the Nexus, we were thinking those are sincere. This is someone he's been drawn to for a long time.
He grew up with, and
she has feelings for him too.
Yeah.
And then what happened. The truth is they're being pulled in different directions, and she's being pulled on a very different journey.
Yeah.
And she's going to follow that. That's more important than anything to her.
Yeah.
So now that we're, at the end of season 3, obviously the elves and humans have come together to achieve some goals. But are things going to be peachy keen between these two races going forward, or will there still be tension between them?
I love it. Of course, peachy keen.
That's the Dragon Prince should be called the Peachy Keen Show.
That's the perfect question.
Yeah.
Because the answer is it's the beginning, and like we've talked about this, season 4 is, I think, well, I think a lot of it is everything that comes after this. This was sort of this acute time where the world is kind of brought to the brink of war.
Yeah.
But that's not going to heal all this history of conflict and overnight. And so I think part of what we see in the beginning of season 4 is just how deep the rift is and how hard the healing will be. And one of the things, like Ezran in particular is working toward, is discovering how he can help lead towards that healing.
To bridge that gap.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not easy.
So yeah, no, everything's not peachy keen. It's important.
It's important.
And change is change is at hand. But things like this, 1,000 years of conflicts and back and forth, you don't go away
just
overnight.
because the Dragon Queen woke up.
Right.
You know that old human saying? I'm sorry, it's a stupid joke.
So, my question, I'm going to switch things and talk about Viren for a minute.
Okay.
And I think he did a lot of really terrible things this season. And, even though Erebos is very persuasive, you told me before that his choices were ultimately his own. So, how do you think fans are going to react to him this season?
To Viren?
Yeah, like, do you think, because a lot of people, want to defend him or stuff, but do you think he can be defended anymore?
He's pretty awful.
He's pretty
I think
awful.
there are moments where it should become pretty clear that he's let his
ambition and I think
we're post season 3, so you see the way he treats his son, and he does it on the advice of Erebos, but he lies to him and humiliates him, and it's an ultimate ends justify the means kind of thing, but that's where you start to see, well, they don't.
Right.
That's no matter what your ends are, if this is how you operate and this is how you treat people, that's where fortunately Soren starts to come to the conclusion that, yeah, my dad's complicated, but he's a villain.
Yeah.
He really is. So,
yeah.
And that doesn't mean he's not complicated. And by the way, he has a very interesting journey ahead in season 4 and 5. Really, I was talking to Jason about this at Anime Weekend Atlanta, and his arc is
very
crazy and really, really moving. So that's all I'll say there.
Yeah, it's exciting.
But what else can we say about Viren?
No, I think it's going to be Viren's not a great guy in season 3.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to feel about him before, but now because how he treated Soren, I was really not happy about that.
Yeah, he also turns a bunch of people into monsters.
Yeah, also that too, especially.
Right.
So, yeah.
The other
right, he kicks bait. Yeah.
We were if we didn't lose him with the Soren scene, kicking bait, that's where the last group is all right, forget this guy.
Claudia, and I don't know if you thought about it or if you can say, but what exactly did she do to bring her father back to life?
We do know, and there's a whole story,
yeah.
but we can't tell you because we're going to actually.
Can we say how we're going to tell
it?
I
don't know yet.
We're in discussions about how to tell that story right now.
But there's a very specific story there, and it will be told.
Yeah, I'm pretty worried about her, and should we, she seems really, really powerful, so I'm wondering if we should be more worried about her or her father now.
I think you can worry about both.
equally worry? Equal worry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Claudia is really fascinating, and I think the story there is. I think people will really like that story. I think it's gonna be a really fun story to tell. So I don't want to say any more, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to tell that story.
So you were mentioning that Ezran will be working hard to, heal the damage done before. Does that mean Ezran's going to be taking his throne and ruling as king, or will he be ruling with some advisor above him making the hard calls?
He'll be king.
Yeah.
And I think part of that leading that journey towards healing is first going to be realizing that it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think initially maybe he's more hopeful that hey, we're into the era of peace. And we're a little bit into spoiler, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
But some events make it clear that is not true.
Yeah. And I think he will have advisors, right? He still does have great people around him, but
he relies on Apelli and
Corvus and Soren and other people and his brother. But yeah, he's definitely making the decisions for himself. There's not a regent or anything.
I can't wait to see more of King Ezran. That's always
Me too. Long live the king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And by the way, I just want to call out brilliant actor Sasha Rogen, who she brings such depth and dignity and humor, and just she inspires us. I think a big part of why we knew we could take Ezran in kind of deeper and more powerful directions is because of the performances she brings to the character.
She's awesome. She's just great as Ezran.
So one thing that Haley and I both really enjoyed about season 3 was these kind of anime-esque transformation sequences that we saw. Who's next? Who gets the next anime transformation sequence?
That's a good question. So we've gotten Callum, right? We've gotten Claudia. We had. Does Rayla have one in season 3?
Season 2, she did like a Sailor Moon thing.
Oh, that's right. Season 2. So
Jane does it.
Oh, Jane does it. That's right.
This is one of the things that I think, like, the anime fans on the team, like, I'm gonna say, like, it's really not coming from me, and so there are suggestions and like great ideas that come.
They usually come back in the boards, and we're like, "Oh, that's awesome."
From animators,
or a director. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what they come up with. It's one of those places where like we get surprised too, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, like there's this thing actually. Devin, one of our writers, she always jokes about Callum vision, which is like when they do the Smell-O-Vision sequence where you see him picturing himself in like a heroic pose doing a thing, right? Like that's something that I think we will definitely continue forward as we do the show.
Okay, this is just a question I thought of. But are we going to see Soren doing more poetry then? Speaking of that, is he done?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jesse would love to do that.
Can I do?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay, wait.
If you're lucky, you'll see him doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
In season 4. So just so you know.
Just get ready. Yeah. Get ready.
Just to put that out there. You heard it here first.
Yeah, but speaking of him and his sister, you know, I love their relationship. They're really close. Reminds me of me and my brother. Until now, I mean. Until season 3.
Sure.
Relatable.
I know.
Yeah. Remember that time when Dad got thrown in prison? And,
yeah, I can't really relate to that one. But how tough will this be for the both of them to be apart, you know, going forward?
Well, I think it's like you said. I mean, like, I think it's really hard, regardless of your relationship with your siblings, right? It's really, I think it's gonna be a really hard thing. You know, it's not easy to get used to the fact that they have different opinions about urine and what the right thing to do is. And so, you know, we deal with some of it in season 3, but going forward, like, they're not together, right? It'll be,
I think it's going to be very hard for
him. Very hard, yeah, for both.
I think a big part of his journey is going to be, I mean, he individuated.
Yeah.
Right? He said, I'm not this, I'm different, I'm going to act differently.
Yeah.
But to do that, he had to have the strength to separate himself from them and act on his own. And how painful and brave that must have been for him. Like, but he's gonna carry some consequences of that decision with him.
Yeah.
He's gonna carry some kind of feelings of guilt, of kind of association with what his sister and father have been involved with. So I think, you know, Jesse has shown himself to be an incredibly versatile and, you know, brilliant Soren, and so we're excited to work with him on those arcs.
Let's see where it goes.
So, how big of a time skip should we expect between season 3 and 4?
I think we shouldn't say.
Yeah, we shouldn't say.
Ooh, that says a lot, though.
So
37.
I love that answer was.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
Wow.
800 years. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
But
boy.
there will be. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's not 800
Yeah.
years.
I mean, Zim would be, you know, a big dragon now. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about elves, and you know, there was a lot of them this season, but we finally got to meet a Skywing elf, which made me really happy.
Yes.
And I feel like from the 3 that we saw, they're all very different looking, and the way that they acted and whatever. Was that intentional or just kind of happened?
No, that was 100% intentional. So the idea is that there's sort of 2 different groups of Skywing elves, right? There are the ones who are born with wings, right? And then there are ones who are not, and the majority of them are not.
Yes.
Like the majority of Skywing elves don't necessarily have wings. Nyx is one of the few that does, or one of the lucky ones that does, I guess. But some of the mages from the Skywing elves can actually do mage wings, right? They can actually create magical wings for themselves, and that's an even smaller percentage, right? So, but it was very deliberate, and someday we'll get to, you know, see Skywing territory and see what that's like and see what that society is like. But it was definitely deliberate that there are different sort of versions of Skywing elves.
Yeah, that made me kind of sad. Like, they all don't have wings. That sucks for the non-winged ones. Yeah.
They're fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
They're very cool. We have very, very cool designs for them. I'm looking at some of them right now.
All right, so this question's a little bit more for Aaron, but one thing I noticed is that between The Dragon Prince and Avatar The Last Airbender is that you seem to have a strong focus on male friendships, such as Aang and Zuko, or here in The Dragon Prince, Viren and King Harrow. It isn't something that's very much explored in Western media. You know, here in America, male friendships are generally presented as a reason to explore diverse subplots under the same title, whereas you guys tend to have these really engaging friendships with really tense dynamics.
Wow, so I hadn't thought, like, Zuko and Aang is an interesting example there. Pretty complicated friendship. I don't have an immediate answer. I think, you know, Zuko and Aang were a little more complicated because I kind of, the way I was thinking of them at that time was more, these are two versions of, like, enlightened ones, kind of the born enlightened one and the struggler, the one who makes every mistake and finally finds some enlightenment, and that they would seem so different and at odds, but actually ultimately have something really important in common. But in the case of Harrow and Viren, I thought it was interesting that they had a different status and kind of place in the world, and they came from such different backgrounds. But clearly, or hopefully clearly, they have genuine friendship and love, and that it's complicated. But also some of the complication is when they revert to those roles, or when Harrow reverts to that role in the night that assassins are coming from him. It's very painful for Viren to be not accepted as a brother and an equal, but treated for the moment as a servant. You know, I wish I had a really clear answer, except that I do find the relationships fascinating and worth exploring, and they're not really easy answers, and they can have mixed and even confusing feelings about each other sometimes, and that's sometimes how it is, and that's real. Hope that helps.
Definitely a bit. That was the scene that really got me hooked on the show was that one that you just mentioned between Viren and King Harrow. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Those are all my questions, Haley. Just
he's out of questions.
There's more on that scene, if I can say, in a book. We're doing books with Scholastic, and one of the great things about the novels is going to be that they're not just going to be like, novelizations of the show, but like it's been an opportunity for me, with a lot of help, to expand on the stories and the characters and understand what they were thinking. Like, and we do see a lot more of what Viren was experiencing during that scene, and hopefully people find that meaningful.
Yeah.
And so these books are written by you guys or other people, or?
Yeah, I'm writing them. I'm getting tons of support, and everything sort of like, you know, it's a team effort where, you know, Justin and I talk about if we're going to insert a piece of backstory that we haven't said, it's still something we're very much creating together and making sure it's the story that we want to tell. But I'm taking the lead on making sure these books are deep, authentic, and that someone who loved season 1 is going to feel like, oh, this represents season 1, and oh my gosh, this is what so-and-so is thinking. This is what I didn't know was happening. There's more. So it's been a real opportunity to go deeper, and I don't know, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But it made me think of it because specifically that scene was a place where I felt like we were able to explore Viren's conflict and emotions in the book in a way that you can kind of speculate about them in the show, but it was a really interesting scene to work on in the book.
Well, can't wait to read it. You just got a customer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll send you one.
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys can share it.
I'll have to travel to LA like every.
Halfway. I'm just kidding.
At the end of season 3, you know, Zim is with his mom finally after a long time, and that, you know, that made me really happy. But I'm wondering, is his story over for now, or is there going to be more Zim? Zim.
No, there's more story. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. No, Zim's story is not over.
Zim's in the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a critical piece of future storytelling for sure.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, because I wasn't sure, because if you're changing the name of the show or whatever, or how different, because we don't really know the name, I don't think, of
No, we haven't
I think we've expressed that even if there are time skips, there's character continuity. It's not a total reboot. It's,
Okay.
They'll still be people you love
Awesome.
and hate, or love to hate, I guess.
So just my last couple of questions. You might not be able to say this one, but I wanted to just mention it. Can we expect Erebos to emerge from that cocoon as a butterfly?
We can't say.
Let's not say.
Yeah, there's an awesome story there, but
Good.
But I love that that's something to speculate about.
Yes.
And I love that it's like, I always wondered why no one ever kind of brought up the fact that it was a caterpillar and what happens when this happens.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever saw that online, and I was like, God, it's so, like, if you were writing a paper on this for high school, you'd be like, he's a caterpillar.
what does that mean?
Caterpillars are going to have another phase,
Yeah.
right? So I'm excited that we've left that tease.
Yeah.
I think we all just wanted to call him a worm, and so we all focus on.
Oh, so maybe people didn't know it was a caterpillar. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's what people call it. Yeah.
And so my last question was: is there anything you can share with us about the video game that we didn't previously know?
Yes, the team is rapidly growing, and we are super excited. This is going to be the way people hopefully are going to get to play and explore Zadia, and so we really are excited to be building it. And like we have interviews going on right now. We have a new person starting today, so it's super exciting. And there will be more soon, but that's about the length of where we can go.
And it's
awesome.
It connects with, what can we say?
It,
Can we say anything or not yet?
I mean, look, it is 100% part of the universe. It is as much from us as anything else we're doing. So like,
There's new stuff.
There's new stuff. Yeah, like
Tons of new content.
Yeah. and things.
Yeah.
And magic and all kinds of cool stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Cool.
Anything else, Deep Cut?
Oh, those are all my questions.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, let us know if you have anything else or you need anything else from us.
And I'm glad you enjoyed season 3.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
great. Loved it.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I sat down. I did it all in one sitting.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yeah.
My kids did too. So